I cannot believe I witnessed this as the Chicago Bulls were up by as many as 21 points and find a way to lose to the Atlanta Hawks. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's game. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. So today, the Chicago Bulls, well, they found a way to lose a game in which, well, they should have won. They were up by as much as 21 points, and the Atlanta Hawks came storming back. At one point, I think it was like a 22-2 run in the fourth quarter, en route to a win for the Atlanta Hawks as they beat the Chicago Bulls 141-133. I think that this was a wild game actually for the Chicago Bulls because they were short-handed going in. We didn't have Modest Buzelis, we didn't have Lonzo Ball out there, and we didn't have Josh Giddey. And so we're going to be looking at the box score right now and just some of the key takeaways from tonight's game. And so let's go ahead and start, I think, with our MVP of the night. I'm going to go with Jevon Carter. I think that Jevon Carter literally was the MVP of the night for me. I know that Zach LaVine is going to be next on the list, but for Jevon Carter, a player that has not played this year really, and I think coming into this game, he's only averaging like a point. Literally, it took for Jevon Carter to get into the game for things to change for the Chicago Bulls. They just could not hit a shot. I think at one point in time, he went like 6 of 6 from the field, changed the energy. In fact, I think one of his first defensive possessions, he got a tip on the inbounds pass and it turned into a turnover. So defensively, he was actually all over the place. He had some key turnovers playing passing lanes and things like that. Like Jevon Carter, he was all over the place. Like 26 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal. He was +7. I loved his effort tonight. And so next up, I think, you can go ahead and give him the MVP just for what he did just on the offensive end, and that's Zach LaVine. And so Zach LaVine tonight at one point had 22 points in the third quarter. He just was on a straight heater. He ultimately finished with 37 points, which was a season high, had 7 assists, 5 rebounds. He had a steal, he had a block, but he did have 7 turnovers, and these turnovers were not good at all with some of the stuff that he was doing. And so that's something that we've obviously talked about with Zach LaVine, something that he's got to clean up. He was -8 in the plus-minus box score. Next up with Vooch. And so Vooch had 19 points. He had 3 assists. He had 8 rebounds. He had 2 steals. He was -8 in the plus-minus box score. But what I am going to take away just from this game with Vooch is just there were so many opportunities in which Vooch should have gotten the basketball. And you clearly could see that when Lonzo Ball and Josh Giddey, those players are not out there in IO, you can see that just ability to just get him the basketball, it just went away at times. And I think that is something that the Chicago Bulls seriously have got to fix. This is also something that I do remember Billy Donovan talking about this when they were going on that extended break. Post-entry passes was something that this team had to work on. They did a poor job, in my opinion, tonight with getting him the basketball. There were several mismatches, and he should have got the basketball. And I think that maybe that could have helped the Chicago Bulls really down the stretch if you could have used the post. Next up, Dalen Terry. So Dalen Terry had a tough game today. I think that he just could not stop fouling, and we're going to talk about the free throw discrepancy, but he just couldn't stop fouling. He couldn't stay on the court. He was -16 today. He only had an assist, and so it was a really tough game for Dalen Terry, who had to start because we were shorthanded with Patrick Williams. And so Patrick Williams knocked down some shots. He did score 11 points, which is good. I mean, it was another double-figure game for him. He had 4 rebounds, he had 4 assists, and he did have 2 steals. So he did, fill up the box score. I think at times he did some things well. I loved there was like one move that he made on Jalen Johnson, first half post, gives him a little elbow, turns into him, and goes up strong. And I'm like, yes, that's what we want to see from Patrick Williams. But unfortunately, tonight it was a -19 for him. But there were some positive signs that I liked, that I saw. And then next up, we didn't have Ayo. We didn't have Josh Giddey. Talked about that, the injury to Ayo. He actually is dealing with an Achilles injury. Josh Giddey, we know he's still dealing with the ankle injury. And then with Coby White, Coby White had 23 points. He had 9 assists, 3 rebounds. He had 1 steal. He was negative 16. The key takeaway tonight for Coby White is just that there were times where I just think he just needs to slow down. He's pressing a bit too much right now. I know he's trying to get out of the slump. He did score the basketball and he filled up the box score, whatever. But there were just times that just Coby White has just got to slow down. I mean, there was one charge he had in the first half, and I get that THT, had he cut a little bit sooner and understanding, the spacing and what the defense was doing there, he could have probably got an easier basket and maybe helped Coby White from getting a charge. But literally, Coby went into 2 players, jumped up in the air and got the charge. And I'm just saying that was just not a good decision. So stuff like that, it just comes from, I think, just slowing down for Coby White. And so hopefully he can continue to grow off of this and get better. As far as the bench tonight, it was pretty bad. I mean, we didn't have Modest Buzelis out there tonight. He was out due to an illness. You had Zoe who was out. And so that kind of hurt the bench, altogether. And then really it was Jevon Carter who was the best point off of the bench. And just everybody else, like Julian Phillips, 2 points, 3 rebounds, and assist. He was plus 15 in the box score. I liked his activity. THT did have 6 assists, even though he didn't score the basketball, so it was a plus 14 there. Jalen Smith, 8 and 6 and 2. He was a 0 on the plus minus, but we needed a lot more from the bench. Torrey Craig came in, and he actually gave us some good minutes. He knocked down a three-pointer. He got to the basket as well. 7 points, 4 rebounds, -9. So, just shout out to him and also to Jevon Carter just being ready tonight. So I think that they did a great job as far as being professionals tonight. And that was good for the Bulls. But, yeah, just not a whole bunch to really look at just as far as things that went well for the Chicago Bulls, because this should have been a game that they had. They clearly let this game get away from them. And I think that when we look into the box score, there were a lot of statistics here that the Chicago Bulls actually won in, including the field goal percentage. And so let's go ahead and bring that up and go inside the numbers. So when you look at the rebounding total, 44-37, the Hawks lead in rebounds. And I think that during the telecast, the one thing that they talked about is that at one point in time, where actually I think they finished with 14 second chance points. I mean, that was just ridiculous. That the fact that the Hawks got that many second chance opportunities, so 14 second chance opportunities, that's how you can come back after being down from 21. And then when you look at the turnovers, once again, we struggle with that. 16-13, we lead in that department. So we have got to clean this up, got to stop beating ourselves. And then as far as points in the paint, we scored 58, but then we gave up 56 to the Hawks. And so we did win in that category by 2, but still gave up a ton of points there. And then as far as the steals are concerned, the Hawks were more active, 9-7 there. And then as far as blocking shots, the Hawks were more active there on the defensive end, 5 to our 1. And so they did a good job there. And this is where, it just gets a bit ridiculous, because when you look at the field goal percentage, this is a game that screams the Chicago Bulls should win the game. 54.1% from the field after really struggling at the start. I talked about how Jevon Carter came in and really helped lift us and get us going. And then also, too, look at the three-point percentage, 51.2%. Comparatively speaking to the Hawks, who did shoot 51.1 from the field, but they only shot 37.8% from the three. So that just lets you know just how well they did as far as getting these second chance points. And I think another telltale stat in this game was just the discrepancy at the free throw line. Literally, the Hawks went to the line 34 times compared to the Chicago Bulls 6 times. The Hawks hit 32 of 34 free throws. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bulls, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. I mean, that's incredible that they went to the line that many times, comparatively speaking, to the Chicago Bulls. And so, look, this was, it's a tough loss, because I know that we're shorthanded. And I think that, it's clear to say the Chicago Bulls really play well against this Atlanta team. This is a game that they should have had. And I think, one of the key takeaways out of this, too, is that when we were talking about trades and we're talking about just the Chicago Bulls and what they might do, I think when you see the performances from a player like Jevon Carter, and then also too you see what Torrey Craig did as well. I think that the Bulls there should be no excuse that both of those players should be traded. I think at some point you're going to be able to move both of those players, and I know you're going to have probably trouble with Lonzo and Vooch and LaVine, but those two players I think are players that absolutely should be moved. I know it's just one game, but I have to think somebody in the league would want a backup point guard, and I also think too, somebody is going to want, a small forward / power forward like Torrey Craig right now that can help you. And so I think that the Chicago Bulls, I know that they're trying to get a direction. You do have a way to start that, and so I hope that they see this. They do make some things happen, but make no mistake about it. This was just a disappointing loss for the Chicago Bulls. So let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this loss. I'd love to hear that. Just want to thank everybody out there for liking, subscribing, and sharing to the content. It means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to reach our goal of just 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season out there. Want to let you know about 66.3% of you that watch are not subscribed, so make sure that you go ahead and mash on that subscribe button for us. It means a lot as we try to reach that goal. And so, look, even though the Chicago Bulls just are blowing 21-point leads, 36 assists today. I mean, just so many statistics where it just shows you the Bulls should have won and they don't win today. Just being frustrated as a Chicago Bulls fan. I'm still saying go Bulls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.